Hi! Welcome to the first episode of See Chris Learn. I am Chris, the titular character. Go figure. So, this is an interactive learning experience for me. I am merging two subjects about which I know very little, pop culture and planetary geology, and I'm merging them with a subject about which I know actually quite a lot, which is world mythology. This is actually a class project for me. I am taking the time to learn how science can function in popular culture, and I'm demonstrating my knowledge about that. So as I learn about planetary geology, I will share that information with you, the internet. Woo. And once we both understand, give or take, what's going on, I'll take the time to share a story of world mythology that sort of connects back in with what I was talking about geologically. So, since today's episode is an introductory episode, I've introduced myself and my purpose here, I guess I now have to introduce my subject, geology. So, when I started this, I knew very little about geology except, hey, rocks! I mean, that one's carved, but you get what I mean. So, the information for today's episode comes from a PDF entitled Planetary Geology, and you'll be able to find a link to that down below, and in fact, any and all sources will be linked down below if you would like to check them out further. So, geology and planets and planetary geology. It's a big subject, so I guess the place to start is with the fact that there are 5 terrestrial bodies that I study, and I guess so that we will be studying together. Now, I don't say 5 terrestrial bodies in the entire solar system, because, in fact, these are the 5 that are actually just the most easily accessible. Easily accessible being a relative term, in this case, the moon is easily accessible. So, the 5 terrestrial bodies that I will be discussing today and throughout the rest of the episodes are Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, and the Moon. The rest of the planets and their moons are either too far away or too not made out of rock to actually count as a terrestrial body. Like everything else in life, there's a strong cause and effect relationship between the formation of the planets and their geological factors. So a planet that is bigger will have a stronger surface gravity, stuff like that. It's pretty simple, and here is a graph. So as you can see, there are 4 formation properties: mass and radius, distance from the sun, composition and rotation rate, and there are 4 geological controlling factors: surface gravity, internal temp, surface temp, and atmosphere. Everything is connected, which is sort of a life lesson, don't you think? So you can see how mass and radius affect the surface gravity and the internal temperature and so on and so forth, right? Now I'm going to add an extra layer. Geologic processes are what happen to planets after they've been formed and all the geological controlling factors are in place. There are 4 of these as well. They are impact cratering, erosion, tectonics, and volcanism. Here's another graph. So once again, everything is connected, as you can see. Each of the 4 geologic processes should be pretty familiar to you, dear Internet. All of them, except impact cratering, are pretty easily observable here on Earth. And if you happen to go to Arizona, you can even see an impact crater if you want. So, why should you care about this? I mean, you don't have to if you don't want to, actually. That's not important. But I feel as if it's important to study geology, planetary geology, because by studying the planets outside of our own, we can learn more about our own planet and how everything is connected and how everything works. I have an example for you. I have one more graph. This is a basic timeline of the solar system and the 5 terrestrial bodies. As you can see, Mercury and the Moon are dead geologically. There's no more tectonic activity going on over there. The core is completely cooled. At the beginning of the solar system, there was a period of heavy cratering that left its mark on all of the terrestrial bodies, but is most observable on Mercury and the Moon because there's little to no geologic processes going on to erase the evidence. So in the next episode, I'll go over more of what the geologic processes are and how they affect the planets the surfaces of terrestrial bodies anyways. But for now, I'm done throwing science at you. Hopefully it was pretty clear though, right? Everybody learned something? But now I get to talk about the fun part, the mythology. I've decided for this episode I'm going to introduce the pantheon to you, the pantheon of gods of Greeks and Romans that the planets are named after. So, since I'm mostly focusing on Venus in my studies of planetary geology, I will begin with Venus. She is, as you might know, the goddess Aphrodite in the Greek religion, and she's the goddess of love. She's goddess of all kinds of love, passionate physical love, or just sort of a familial bond of loyalty. She gets a lot of crap because she tends to sleep around and she helps Zeus or Jupiter, whoever, a lot when he's cheating, but in fact, she's a very ancient goddess. Now, when I say older, I mean older than the Greeks and the Romans. Venus was actually worshipped when the cult of the mother goddess was a thing, and um, the mother goddess was all powerful. I mean, she was to original peoples what Zeus and Jupiter are to the Greeks and the Romans. So she was pretty dang powerful, and then, patriarchy and all of that. So for the others, I'll just take you through the names and sort of who is who and what they're gods of. Start with Mercury. Mercury was known as Hermes. He's the messenger of the gods, and he's an all-around trickster. He tricks Apollo like the day that he's born. It's a cool thing. He's the only god, one of the only gods who can travel between our world and the world of the dead. Not all the gods can do that and come back. So then we talked about Venus. Venus is next. Mercury, Venus, Earth, and Earth is Earth. We live here. I think you know it pretty well. Next was Mars, and Mars was known in the Greek religion as Ares, the god of fighting and war and strength and warriors and aggression and testosterone. Jupiter, as I've mentioned, is Zeus, wielder of the lightning bolt, king of the gods, and full-time philanderer. Saturn, the next of the planets, is connected back to Kronos. Kronos was actually not a god, he was a titan, so that's interesting. And he was Zeus' father and the titan of time. Who's next? Uranus. Uranus is actually a Greek name, it's not Roman. Uranus was the beginning of everything. He was the sky, the creation, I guess. Uranus and Gaia slept together, Gaia being the earth, Uranus being the sky, and they gave birth together to the Titans, who then gave birth to the gods, who then created man, and it goes on from there. After Uranus is Neptune, and Neptune is everybody's favorite Poseidon, god of the seas, earth shaker, and creator of horses, if you were curious about that. Poseidon is the one who made major horses. So yeah. And of course, last but not least, there's Hades, Pluto. Pluto is Hades. You might recognize that name as the god of the dead, lord of the underworld, king of the dead. He sort of controlled all of that, but he was able to come and go from Hades quite frequently. And though Pluto is not technically still a planet, I feel like Hades is an important enough god that I wanted to talk about him. So, that's the first episode of See Chris Learn. Hopefully you learned something. If you have any questions or comments, please post them below. I will make sure to address them in the next episode if you have any. And so for those of you who enjoy geology, rock on. And for my fellow classics or mythology geeks, keep it classic.